Since the inception of social media, developers have attempted to create an artificial world on a screen in which people can share their lives to connect with one another. After a decade or so, users have begun to connect in ways that are beyond the boundaries of any typical friendship. The combination of American culture idolizing celebrities mixed with the accessibility and shareability of information on social media has created an online world that amplifies a culture rooted and driven by perfection. Due to the ease of access of this digital world and the addictive nature of scrolling social media, comparing lifestyles and aesthetics have become incredibly prevalent, especially amongst adolescents, and it is detrimentally affecting women at an alarming rate. My name's Sean Ferris, and this is how the technology behind social media has created a digital environment that amplifies unrealistic standards for women. Before we can tackle the issue at hand, we need to understand how the brain works. Dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the central nervous system that controls seeking behavior. It's associated with learning, memory, motivation, impulse control, movement, and many other critical body functions. Dopamine plays a heavy role in how the brain learns and associates any action or activity with the memory of pleasurable feeling that it was produced. In short, whenever we are seeking anything, whether that's food, sex, validation, interaction, pleasure, comfort, worth, happiness, or anything, our brain produces dopamine to motivate us to achieve whatever it is that we are seeking. This process of producing dopamine has helped humans adapt to their environment for thousands of years. It's what inspires innovation in industry, it helps keep our species populated, and most of all, it's what keeps us going. Seeking behavior is what makes humans ambitious, but it also makes us addicted to certain activities. Activities like social interaction, gaining insight, novelty from experience. All of these things are responsible because of the production of dopamine. It is a biological system that was used to find food, shelter, and populate the earth. It's ingrained in our brains. And since it's so engraved in our brains, it is incredibly easy for companies to exploit this process digitally. Which takes us to Chapter 2, Social Media, and how the algorithms exploited our psychology. Have you ever wondered why every piece of content you see on your phone is always something you're interested in? It's because every social media platform has mathematically ranked all of your likes and interests based off how you interact with the platform. At a conference in 2013, Facebook revealed the components of how they made up their newsfeed algorithm. And this algorithm would go on to be the blueprint for how every social media platform displays content. It's called EdgeRank. EdgeRank is composed of 3 main variables: affinity score, weight, and time decay. The first factor that goes into the algorithm is affinity score, which measures your connection to other accounts. Basically meaning whether you're following them, not following them, or if you interact with their profile. So, say you're following a friend and you interact with their profile or their post, then it automatically will filter that information into what is known as your algorithm. From then, your algorithm would output that information higher into your newsfeed, or if you're not following someone, but you still interact with their post, it'll still filter all of that in and then put it further down in your timeline. The next factor is the weight factor, and weight measures how much of an impact or the weight of the specific interaction. Types of interactions like sharing, commenting, following, liking, or even viewing the post. So let's say you like and comment on a friend's post who you're already following. All of this information gets filtered down into your algorithm. From there, that post is going to get put into your newsfeed. But it changes and it varies depending on the type of interaction. So, in order, a share is the highest weighing, then comment, and then whether you click follow or not, and then a like. So let's say your profile shares a cat video, but you're not following this funny cat profile. You don't comment on it, but you do like it. and you view the video for longer than 10 seconds. Now, all this information is being gathered, put into your specific algorithm, so that that video and those kinds of videos are going to appear first over posts like your friends. And the third factor is time decay, which essentially measures how long ago that post was created or that interaction was made in order to filter out what your preferences are and how they might have changed over time. Say 3 years ago, you would like your friends' posts more often, but then you started commenting on cat videos and then sharing cat videos, but you only liked your friend's post. All of these factors come into account in the form of the type of interaction all the way to the frequency of the interaction. And the algorithm will then filter all of this information to produce a timeline that looks something like this. So if you're sharing a lot of cat videos, you're not really liking or engaging with your friends' posts anymore, now they're going to show you cat videos. Advertisements more often for, feline products. More cat videos, then maybe throw in a friend's post. More advertisements to see if you're still into cat content and if you've actually made any purchases. So to clarify, everything you do on your profile, when you're in digital presence, everything you do online, it goes into one of these 3 buckets. And these buckets are filtered into the most complex piece of technology humanity has ever created in order to create a user profile or your user-specific algorithm, which will produce all of the content that you see whenever you're on social media. This type of content distribution method amplifies every aspect of the user's mind in the moment, even the bad parts like jealousy, envy, comparison, and even their perception of reality, making users often feel less than those they see online. So what happens when you put all these factors together in a mathematical equation that ranks what you like and dislike? It's called overstimulation. It is so inherently unnatural for the brain to be overstimulated with reward that often the brain will start to build a tolerance to dopamine, and it'll seek more in order to produce the same sensation it got before. This can commonly be defined as addiction. So what happens to society when you give someone an addiction to the feeling of being rewarded for nothing? You get the highest rates of anxiety and depression in the past century, which brings us to Chapter 3, how social media is affecting women at an alarming rate. Body image and perfectionism are perhaps the most prevalent issues with social media, especially for young women. When most pictures of women online are the best 1 out of 100 taken, and then throwing effects like filters or even photoshopping the feminine features, it takes a toll on what a woman feels she should look like. In 2018, the CDC reported that over 35% of adolescent girls with depression had more than 5 hours of daily social media use, whereas depression rates were only 18% for boys who spent 5 hours on social media daily. While this is an issue that affects all users, female users are definitely feeling the negative effects at a much larger rate. But not only is the technology responsible for increasing depression, anxiety, and even suicide rates, it also amplifies gender stereotypes and inequalities. So much so that some are even saying that Facebook's ad algorithm is a race and gender stereotyping machine. In a 2019 study by Northeastern University and the University of Southern California, they found that despite advertisers' preferences being broad and inclusive, Facebook's algorithm delivered supermarket cashier positions to an audience of 85% women, whereas jobs in the lumber industry to an audience that was 72% white and 90% men, despite the target audience specified was identical for all ads. In another instance, ads displayed for artificial intelligence developer listings also skewed towards white males, while listings for secretarial work overwhelmingly found their way to female users. These types of distribution methods amplify the connection to social media for women by exploiting the vulnerability in psychology that we know as socializing. For instance, someone who is constantly getting notifications from their posts will spend a lot more time on the platform than someone who doesn't receive any notifications at all. And as we know, the more time spent on social media increases the risk for symptoms and likelihood of depression or loneliness. In conclusion, it may seem hopeless to ponder about what can be done to stop these practices, but it is critical that men and women alike band together for more social media reform, whether that be through regulation, minimum age requirements for use, mental health warnings, or even self-limiting screen time. We need to be aware of how technology is growing and advancing far faster than the human brain can adapt. It makes it even more imperative that people are aware of the methods used and how these methods affect our brains.